Well, hey everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk. It's a call-in show on the Skeptic Haven channel. Let's Talk is a safe place for atheists and those questioning or leaving a religion, or anyone that wants to ask questions and have respectful discussions. Remember that, respectful. From the US, you can call 984-789-4787, or if you're outside the US, just click that URL on the screen and call us from your computer. Gotta love science and technology, huh?
This is Skeptic Haven. Let's talk.
Hey, there's two of me. Now there's two of Eric.
Oh my God. What's going on?
We've been split in the middle there. I don't even know. Dude, it's been like forever. So how you doing?
Man. Yeah, I've been doing pretty good. I haven't been making the rounds as much lately. So yeah, I haven't been by your channel at all, maybe past couple months. But no, I've been good, just busy with
Probably
life.
longer. People are crying because you're not in my
Oh man, I just don't believe you. I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah. How did you come to that truth? No, I'm serious. But we've noticed the lack of you around, and I've mentioned it before actually. But yeah, I mean, we like having you on there, man. That's why I keep sending links, even though you don't come in.
Well, I will.
Sometimes I do that.
I will redouble my efforts to stop by and say hi here.
All right.
I saw you were streaming last night. I was busy with, I mentioned before the show started up here in Seattle. Fall's like here now, even though I think it's technically fall now. But for my house and my property, it's a huge operation getting ready for it. I have to get all the firewood chopped, and I have to get leaves taken care of and waterproof things, because over the summer gutters dilapidate and I get leaks in the roof and stuff like that. So I've been busy, kind of getting ready for this. Busy getting ready for the winter. So it's been very hectic around here. But hopefully, once it starts really getting really into the rainy season here, I can kind of bunker up inside and start getting online and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll be stopping by here pretty soon. So especially now that you called me out for it, I'll have to.
I wasn't calling you. I've also seen you doing other shows too, like The Line and whatnot. So you're keeping busy other ways anyway. So
yeah.
Just having you out there and screaming for our cause is a good thing.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah.
And you, Mikey in the chat, winter is coming.
Winter is coming. It always comes here. Because we're fairly close to each other. I don't know what Vancouver's winters are like. Probably pretty comparable to the ones we have down here in Seattle. All the 3 hours.
We're very similar.
Yeah, 3 hours can make a big difference. Even though we're regionally kind of the same area. When I lived in Montana, 20-minute drive would take you from an area that barely ever got any snow into a snow belt where you would get dumped on every year. I had the fortune of being up in the snow belt because that's where I wanted to live. So I remember my first winter there. It was
building snowmen. Is that it?
I was lucky in that the apartment I lived in, they took care of all the snow removal for us, so I didn't have to worry about that. My first winter there, I think was I grew up in Las Vegas, so you get the idea of kind of what I'm used to. So my first real winter up there was negative 15 degrees at night in December. It was the air hurt. It was great. I loved it.
One time we went to Calgary when I was dating a gal, and she had friends in Calgary, so we went to spend Christmas over there with her friends. And it was my first time to Calgary, not my first time in Alberta, because I've been to Edmonton multiple times before that. But we went to Calgary, and it was December 24th or 23rd, I think, when we got there. And I walked outside the airport and my mustache instantly froze.
Oh, wow.
It's that's shit. My smoke breaks are going to be really short.
One drag and all, your mustache melts, but then refreezes.
yeah. And then the cigarette stuck to the mustache. And great.
Awesome. Beautiful.
Yeah, but I think our weather here, we get we just had some rain and thunder and stuff here. So we call that our faux fall, and then it jumps back up to 20 something degrees, or in your guys' term 70 whatever something degrees, and then it drops down again towards the end of September, and then in October, which is when fall actually kicks in, then it starts getting pretty cold. Then we get this surprise snow dump, and then it's just fucking rain. And then, so we get the mock winter, then it's just rain. And then we get another dump in February or March or something, and then that's it for us.
Yeah,
So.
I noticed. Yeah, in the 10 years I've been here in Seattle, November and February are usually when like the snow will kind of really hit you. Otherwise, it's just mostly generally fairly mild rain. Like it gets down to like 30 to 40 degrees at night, just above freezing basically. So and then in the daytime it's like 50ish degrees. But yeah, and then we have in Seattle we have we call it false spring, where when we're just starting out of the rainy season and it seems like it's going to get into summer, then all of a sudden bam, it hits you right again, and it's going to get 2, 3, 4 weeks of winter.
Let me see if I can find it, but I got this funny little meme here that talks about our weather patterns here. And it's probably very similar for you too. It's buried in my phone. But it's got like, we have seasons where we have, you get your fall, right? You have your false fall, then you get real fall, then you get surprise dump, then you get more rain, another surprise dump, false spring, more rain, real spring, false summer, smoke, and then end of summer,
smoke,
right? And then back into the whole routine.
Smoke wasn't so bad this year. It
wasn't.
Yeah, it was actually very, very limited. I was really surprised.
Literally best it's been in years, if you ask me. Yeah, because it's always smoke. We got a little bit just recently from some of the more local fires. Oh, Eric, where are you?
Is that them telling us they don't want us to talk about weather? They want us to actually talk about atheism and religion and the actual topic of the stream tonight. Let's just talk about the weather for another 30 minutes. It's super exciting.
Oh, well, it's just it's funny because you and I live fairly close together, within hours of each other. So to talk about that is just it's what we do, man. Yeah. We do talk about atheism stuff, of course, because we're atheists, but
Absolutely.
We don't always just talk about atheism stuff, right? Usually when we get together, we're talking about all kinds of crazy stuff like Star Wars and, well, in my case, Lego. So
I can't show you, but speaking of which, I organized my Legos, and so I can probably show you this right here. Over here, I set up a bunch of shelves. It's probably not going to fit. There we go. Got a bunch of shelves there.
Look at that.
That's all the build stuff. All the not build stuff is in my closet, and it's reaching the ceiling. I have a problem.
Yeah. Geez, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I have a massive first world problem in that I have so many boxed Lego sets that I can't build because my house is not big enough.
I know.
I have no room.
Same problem. I have the same freaking problem. I just got this one too, just recently. Check this out, man. Animated series Batmobile.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, so
very cool.
That one again.
Man, I grew up on that.
And now there's a.
Is that how you treat your stuff, Neil?
Not regularly.
Out there's some 10-year-old kid who saw that. It's like just a tear going down his eyes. Like, Daddy,
stupid adults.
He just has way, throws it away.
No, it slipped. What can I say?
Yeah, it happens. No, I got a huge mountain of, and all the big ones are at the bottom, and as you get to the top, it gets lighter and lighter, just so the boxes don't crush themselves.
That's what I did too with my massive pile of boxes right over there.
But anyway, first world problem. I'm probably gonna build half of them, and then all of a sudden I'll be gone one day, and so it's gonna be also somebody else's problem. Probably one of my probably not any of my family. Probably someone on my wife's side will probably inherit them one day far down the line, hopefully. Hundreds and maybe thousands of years down the line, if transhumanism becomes a thing, or it becomes cyberized, or we get a scientific advancement pill that reverses aging. Who knows?
You say that, and I recently saw, I can't remember if it was TikTok or whatever. No, I think it was a YouTube Shorts thing. There's a university in Australia where these guys are working on DNA stuff. Like they created what they call a seeker RNA, which can go in and take the place of a genetic defect, and they could pre-program it with the proper, I guess, way it's supposed to be, and they take out the defective DNA and put in the new DNA, which makes it normal, right? And now they're saying that there's tons of stuff that, like, they can now conquer cancer, HIV, aging, and all kinds of other stuff that they listed. So there's things that are going to be coming in the world of medicine and science.
I wonder, like, because every once in a while you think about, okay, well, what if this major event ever occurred with humanity? What kind of a blow would it deal to religion. Like, a big one is, okay, what if we ever discovered, intelligent alien life, and, better yet, actually communicate with them and talk to them.
We'd probably go on missions to their planets, I guess.
Yeah, there'd probably be some people trying to go out there and convert them, but like,
Yeah.
just the idea, like, okay, Earth's the main attraction of the whole theater of reality, according to Christians, at least.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, well, what happens when all of a sudden we're just one planet of potentially many? What kind of changes? How would religion have to adapt to survive such a revelation? And same thing goes with.
It could, honestly.
Possibly. You never know.
There's always going to be people clinging on, obviously.
Yeah. But another one would be, like, all of a sudden, once we have the technology, and I think it's going to happen eventually one day. I don't know necessarily in our lifetimes, but one day I think we'll have the technology to either cyberize, upload consciousnesses and intelligence and memories, or have medical advancement where we can reverse or prevent aging. And what would that do to religion? Because one of the big carrots of religion, and also the stick as well, is the afterlife. If you're a good person, you want to see your friends and loved ones again, or you don't want to, you just simply fearful of dying, which I think most normal people are. I don't
think it's because afterlife doesn't necessarily mean you're going to heaven. You might be burning in hell, right?
Yeah, that's the stick part too. Yeah. So, but I mean, your typical Christian, typically they're like, yeah, I'm going to go to heaven because I think I'm a good person, or they strive to go to heaven and they think that God will judge them by their deeds. And most Christians have a positive outlook of the afterlife. They think they're going to heaven, even though they may not necessarily be outward about it, because that wouldn't be very humble. So like, take away that carrot and all of a sudden, hey, we have that already here on earth. We have, one day, no diseases, we'll have no death. We'll have, sure, you might die to accident or to, purposeful actions of other people, or murder and manslaughter and stuff like that. But for the most part, you don't have to worry about deteriorating and withering away and dying. Take that away from religion. Now, what is kind of religion doing for you? Well, they're still going to hold the afterlife over you because you want to avoid hell. But the effect on religion, I think, would be interesting to see, because man slowly is pulling that power out of God's hands and out of religion's hands, and taking control of it for itself. We used to pray for.
We've done that multiple times already.
Yeah, right? We've used to pray for rain and weather for our crops, and now we can forecast it. Now we used to pray away diseases, and now doctors can take care of it. Yeah. And eventually, we're going to be. Right now, humans pray for relief from sickness and suffering and death, and eventually, probably scientists will handle that problems for it as well. So, God of the gaps continues to shrink, and I'm interested to see how religion would behave in that situation. Which religions would tell its followers to not, partake in these medical wonders? Which ones will adapt and change their tune, and which ones will just go away? I
think we're already seeing death throes of religion.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely the information age. I think the internet and just the free flow of information has been kryptonite to most religions in most first world countries. Third world countries are definitely, they're growing in religiosity, but that's because you have less education, less communication, less technology, less hope and outlook. But if we were able to get these advancements and these luxuries and these I would say necessary things for our continued human existence to those countries, I think we would see religiosity take a big fat U-turn and continue in decline, just like everywhere else. And that's important. And it's one of the reasons why we do this show, is because we want to get this information out there. We want to talk about these things. We want to get people to think. Because the more educated you are, the more informed, the more you think, the less religious you will likely be.
Yeah. But there's that old adage, sort of like the horse to water. You can lead a Christian to knowledge, but you can't make them think.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's why it's important to just, despite that, there will be individuals who never will want to change or open up their views or even consider that they might be wrong about things. That's one of the biggest things about, that's one of the things about street epistemology I like, is because it's an evaluation of your confidence and why you're so confident in your position.
Yeah.
But yeah, and if, again, it's like there's some people who are just so resistant to it, and if you have people like that, you have to just worry about the next generation. Let them live their lives and do what they want to do, and worry about the next generation, because then they will hopefully carry on the torch and continue the work. So,
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I know a lot of, at least in my area, anyways. I know a lot of younger generation people that really aren't believers. I've even had some say, "Well, yeah, I, I guess I'm a Christian, but and I don't know if I buy any of that stuff." Or I hear sort of little things like that from people quite often.
Yep.
So I often ask them, "Well, what the hell keeps you in calling yourself a Christian if none of that stuff is really reality to you, or for lack of a better term?" So, and they're like, "I don't know, just because my family is, I guess I'm culturally Christian," which I get because I'm still culturally Jewish, but I don't really, practice any of it, or I don't believe in God. So, I know that the Old Testament is nothing but a big book of mythology. So,
yeah, I think I would culturally Christian is an interesting phrase, and I can see where you're coming from with that. I would probably call myself that because my Christianity was such a huge influence on me when I was into my development years. It's really hard to escape that fact that part of who I am today is because of the religion I was raised in.
Sure.
But yeah, just like you, I can look back and say, okay, I can take the good things out of my upbringing, out of my religion. I can take the good things out of the Bible, and I can reject the shit, basically. Get rid of the stuff that is just like with the religion, it was shunning and refusal of blood transfusions, refusing to partake
that I
in.
still that still makes
that's
me
a whole
cringe,
thing.
dude.
Yeah. But denying medical treatment because some loose interpretation of a scripture about not eating, like literally eating blood, shunning of friends and family members who no longer believe.
That's crazy too.
Remaining separate from the world, and that not having worldly friends, people who are not inside the religion. Like I can get rid of all of that, and also the stuff in the Bible, the actual stuff that the Bible says, I can also get rid of. Take what I want, leave what I don't. I'm not beholden to dogma anymore, which is really, really nice.
Yes.
So yeah, but suffice to say though,
it's a big chain to take off too. For a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. It was so liberating too. I said it a few times. I think I mentioned on your channel when you interviewed me. Just it was like a renaissance when I deconverted 27-ish. When I deconverted, it was such a renaissance in my life. It was such a new. It was like I knew what I was doing was once in a lifetime. I knew that there are people out there who never get to experience this. They never get to one day wake up and realize, wait a minute, everything I was told in my religion was wrong, or at least most of it is wrong. Like I knew I was facing down, hey, this renaissance and this kind of this revolution in my life. And that was one of the great things about deconverting was appreciating that and pondering all these things, and eventually becoming who I am today. And I feel like I'm a much better person than I was back then, and I'm continuing to grow and change. And it's one of the great things about it.
For sure. And you know what, Eric? Looks like we got a few calls already now.
Sweet. Let's talk to some people.
Yeah, let's you know what? I'm sorry folks. I'm going to pick Stacy, her from British Columbia, my home province. She's an atheist, but she has lingering beliefs in heaven and hell. We'll talk to Stacy first, I think, and then we'll move on to Paul and Infidel. So let's go and hit the talk button. Hi, Stacy. Can you hear us?
Hello.
Hello, Stacy.
Hello.
Wait a minute. Hi. Hold on a second here. Is this the Stacy that I know?
This voice is very familiar.
This is the Stacy, Yeah.
Hey, Stacy.
Two of my favorite people. Yeah.
How you doing?
How are you guys? I'm great. I'm really good. Yeah. I wanted to just call and well, I actually do have something to talk about. But I also just wanted to call and say hi to both of you because I've been so lucky to meet both of you in person, and you are just wonderful. So to see you on a show together just made my day. So, hi.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Daisy.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we just saw each other recently at the BajaCon, so.
We did. Yeah, we got to spend a couple days hanging out, so that was wonderful. And yeah.
Yeah,
so,
that was
all you can eat.
Are you looking forward to next year?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to make it out there for next year.
I think
a bit of a delay.
Eric,
I think I want to. I think I want to try to get to Baja Con next year. I learned about Baja Con like 2 weeks before you guys had it this year, and I couldn't make it, but maybe I'll try to catch it next year because that did look
Oh my
pretty
God.
interesting. Yeah.
Be cool if you did, man.
It was
Maybe we could
incredible.
schedule our flights together. We
It
can
was
just leave from
incredible.
one location.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely worth the trip. So,
Yep.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so I don't actually have a lingering belief still. I was just like, I don't know what to say to talk about or how to talk. You guys are talking about, I don't have that lingering belief, thankfully, but
That's good.
you guys are talking about like heaven and hell and everything. But one thing that I know a lot of people talk about, like when they were Christians and they believed in heaven, and for me, I really did, like I was looking forward to heaven, and I know that a lot of people said that the thought of heaven would cause them some like anxiety, just being like there for eternity. To me, I was very strange maybe, but I loved that idea, and I really grieved the thought of not going to heaven. And that was so hard for me to just like wrap my brain around that. Oh, I'm not going to live forever. Oh, I'm not going to this like paradise. And that was super hard for me to like wrap my brain around after thinking that I was going to live forever and I was going to be with Jesus. And so that was tough. And I deconverted in my late 30s. And so I felt like, okay, I don't know how much longer I actually have to live. Nobody knows that. And
Nope.
kind of
Could end
caused me a
tomorrow.
bit of panic because, pardon?
I said it could end tomorrow.
Yeah.
Exactly. And living my whole life thinking like, okay, well, even if I die tomorrow, at least I'm going to heaven and at least I'm going to continue living. So it was quite scary to be like, oh my gosh, this literally is the only life that I have. And it just felt so fragile and so delicate. And I also felt like I appreciated the life that I had, but I don't think I fully grasped just how
How special it was, how unique it is.
How special. Yes.
Yeah.
And because
You're here because that one sperm won out of millions.
Yeah. And so for me, like thankfully I got over my fear or belief in hell really quickly, but coming to that realization of, oh my God, there is no heaven. Oh my God, I'm not going to live forever. Like it was that was scarier to me. So I'm over it now, but I think we always talk about and ask people like, how'd you get over your fear of hell? Well, I had to get over my like grief of heaven. So yeah, I don't really have any advice. I just wanted people to know if they have that feeling.
Well,
it's like that's actually a very normal thing too. So
what I can say real quick is, as you know, I've had many people on my show that have also claimed to have had a hard time dropping the whole I'm not going to heaven thing. And it can be, for some people anyways, it can be pretty overwhelming and actually lead to forms of depression. But most people end up, I think, coming out on the more positive side of that once they drop that belief completely and it doesn't haunt them. But one quick thing is, are you sure you really want to live forever anyways? Because, you know, the universe isn't going to be here forever. And it's most likely going to, once that's gone, then what do you do? When you just floating around in this imaginary space or something? Like, yeah, I don't even get it. Like eternity is a long fucking time. You're going to get bored. You're going to go, okay, now how do I die here?
That was thankfully a bullet that I dodged. To no credit to myself, it was just circumstance that, you know, I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, and their ideas of the afterlife or what comes after Armageddon is kind of unique. For hell, there's just no hell in the Jehovah's Witnesses belief. That's just straight out. You can just erase it out of any idea because it's just simply not a thing. The only thing the worst thing that could happen to you is just eternal annihilation. They're annihilationists. They do have a concept of heaven. They think that a very select few of God's chosen on earth will go to heaven, namely
Like
144,000. Yep.
Yeah.
They go to Revelation and they take, the crazed rantings of Revelation. They interpret that into a literal 12,000 of this tribe, 12,000 of that tribe, 12 times, and you have 144,000.
Right.
So, and they're going to heaven. But
Tribalism.
yeah, and then everybody else, if you're either going to be destroyed eternally if you don't meet God's standard, or you will be ushered into a paradise earth after Armageddon. But it's not a paradise earth right away. You're going to have to work to rebuild it into a paradise earth after Armageddon. You're going to have to literally build a new world on top of the corpses of the billions that died in Armageddon. So really dark stuff.
That's disturbing.
Yeah, it's really bad. And you see some of the illustrations they have in their documentation or in the literature about Armageddon is pretty. If you look back, you go, wow, this is really screwed up stuff. I can't believe I looked at this and nodded and go, yeah, I can't wait till God does this. People screaming under falling buildings. And,
yeah,
it's crazy stuff. So like I said, I didn't have to worry about hell on that. The worst thing I had to contend with was, like you, I'm not going to live forever. And surprisingly, it didn't cause me too much. It didn't cause me too much distress. I think I got over it after a few months, and it was just like, okay, it's like I was told I had $1 million in a bank account my entire life, and when I grow up to claim it, I then discover I didn't actually have $1 million in a bank account waiting for me. I'm like, well, that sucks. Got to get over it. Okay, I move on. And I'm not saying that should be the case for everybody. Some people will have to go through a lot to overcome the religious indoctrination and trauma that they were subjected to as they were, raised in their various beliefs. So everyone's journey is different. Mine was fairly painless, mainly because, like I said, I was lucky in that we didn't have a hell belief, and also I kind of just let go of it easily. I think it's just kind of maybe the type of person I am. I just don't cling on to those things too much. But yeah, it's messed up.
Quick starred message to read off here. Where it says, Kachingaverse says, even after you get out of these organizations, there's a whole matrix of that thinking everywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So people that have these sorts of thoughts and about missing their, even in other religions, I'm sure there are heavenly type places, right? So they also have to deal with that sort of loss as well. Yeah.
Oh, Kachinga, fellow XJW, shout out. Hey man.
There you go.
See his previous comment there.
Yeah. It was also like tough too, because I have 3 kids, and I always thought too, like if anything like were to happen, and like obviously you want your kids to outlive you, but if anything were to happen, I thought, okay, I have assurance that I'm going to see them in heaven one day. Like if they got sick or something happened.
Yeah, something horrible happened. Sure.
Didn't outlive you. Yeah. Yeah. And so I just thought, well, then at least I'll see them in heaven. Well, when I stopped believing and I didn't have that like so-called assurance, I was like, oh my God, like when it's done, it's done. And that freaked me out too. So it's like, but that's just what's so like just awful about religion, and just like feeding people these lies and these these false beliefs. And then when you're an adult and you're like faced with reality, and you're just like, holy shit, like I
like the way Eric puts it, carrot and stick.
Like, I was glad to be I was glad to be like, okay, now I can face reality. That's great. But it comes with so much baggage, and you're just like, you're sorting through it all. And I can't believe that
because we're all having to face down reality in the world we live in and the difficulties therein. They're very real difficulties that we have when day-to-day life, raising families, making a living, surviving, getting older, dealing with illness, dealing with loss and tragedy and such. Like it's hard enough as it is, but then out of the gate, many of us, religion hamstrings us with these false promises and these beliefs that once we realize are false, now they're still hindering us because we're dealing with the emotional turmoil and the emotional fallout of having to believe these things and let go of them. So yeah, it definitely doesn't make anything any easier, which is one of the reasons why I would love to see religion just simply go away, because it does not help the situation.
Yeah.
It's
no, it doesn't. at all.
One thing, can you mark Kachinga's latest comment there about the diabolical thing? No, the most diabolical thing about this culture and how it wastes so much time.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I might not have top. I think I have top chats turned on. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. This is the one that gets me. This is probably one of my biggest weaknesses. I can have a very indifferent, sometimes blasé attitude about certain things because being raised that, hey, you have all the time in the world. You don't need to worry about everything today. You have eternity ahead of you to pursue whatever interests you want. If you ever want to become an artist or learn the piano or, do something constructive or like a hobby, don't worry about that now because you have all the time in the world afterwards. Once you survive Armageddon, you're in the new world. You have all the time in the world to learn whatever you want. And that I took that seriously when I was a kid. So I tend to be, I can be in a pattern of not acting on things when I should, procrastinating, because even though I don't believe in the afterlife or eternity anymore, it still can affect my decisions because I've been so conditioned to just kick the can and worry about things later. And that's something I gotta constantly be on the watch for. Is like, hey, no, Eric, you're 42. You need to move on some things because before you know it, those doors, those opportunities are going to close and they're never going to open.
Yes, you're 52, then you're 62. Then,
Yep. And then all of a sudden, like, hey, I want to play tennis. Oh, I can't because I have a bad knee or I'm in a wheelchair or something like that. So getting off my ass and
I'm prepared.
Things is there you go. my dad had COVID a few weeks ago, and his was so bad. I had to buy him a walker. He needed to use a walker for 2 days because he could barely move around. He's much better now. He's like recovered now. But yeah, it was like I was watching that and I was like, man, this is scary because I've never seen my dad this frail. And he's 82. So yeah, just scary stuff. And it makes me reflect on things like, one day my dad's not going to be here. I should take advantage of the time I have with him. I should take him fishing like I promised, or I should play those chess games with him that I want to play. That's
why I see my mom every Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes you appreciate those things.
Not at church though.
Yeah. Better things to do on Sunday than church.
Yeah. Go for brunch. That's what we do.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice. Yeah. Well, thanks guys for taking my call and
Stacy, great to talk to you.
It's just nice to talk with you guys.
Yeah, Stacy. Good seeing you.
Yeah.
Say hi to your mom for me.
I will.
Stacy's mom. Hi, Stacy's mom. Or D, actually. But I should treat her with a little more respect. She is one of our patrons. So.
That's great. Yes. All right. Well, I think you guys have more calls, so I'll let you get to those. But
we do.
Great to see both of you. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Stacey.
Bye.
Yeah. Okay. Bye for now.
All right. I think before we go into our next call, I have when I get my stuff in order here, I have another little something that we'd like to say real quick here. Skeptic Haven is looking for volunteers to help behind the scenes. If you'd like to be a part of our awesome team, then send us an email at info@skeptichaven.com and become one of our valued team members. All right. And so it's a lot of fun doing this. At least I have fun doing this. So let's get into our next call. Now we're going to go to Infidel, who is Delaware. He's an atheist, in quotations or in brackets. It says "as fuck," and doesn't think religion will ever be completely gone. All right, so let's get Dale on here, Mr. Infidel.
Hello, gentlemen, gentle hosts, gentle people.
Hello,
gentle hosts.
And I love this.
You want me to rough it up?
Quotation there.
You like that? As fuck the AF part. It's funny when where I work, we take in waste antifreeze. So, because that's what I do is I work in a lab with that stuff, and make new stuff out of it. But anywho, we always put it as waste, and then.
Is that okay while you're taking a call from me? Is that okay while you're saying you're okay taking a call from me because you're used to taking in antifreeze?
No. This is a little story with the as fuck part.
I know. I'm sorry.
So I have to tag the totes that come in with waste AF, right? But I always put a D on the end. So it says wasted as fuck. Instead,
Nice.
right? People think it's kind of funny. Well, not so much the boss, but anyway. So what's up, man? You don't think religion will ever go away? Is that what you're telling us?
Well, I heard you speaking about it earlier, and I wanted to chime in because every day people say to me, "Oh, do you think you're going to make it disappear?" And of course not. Definitely not overnight. But I don't know.
It's not the goal, anyways.
When
Really,
I say religion, I just mean. And when I say religion, obviously that term can encompass a lot of things. But I just mean organized religion in general. I don't think it will completely go away, but I think it will at some point be, put to the side of society where it gets looked at the way Scientology does today, and that's kind of what I hope will happen.
I think in time it'll eventually fade. As I was saying, I think in time it'll actually fade out, but I don't know if it'll ever completely disappear. I think there's going to be at least small groups of people that probably still cling on to it. I know for a fact that a lot of people who may not even really believe, but they still cling on to it because it makes them feel good. Like, especially in times of trauma or stress, they can lean on it. And I think that's one of the crutches of religion for a lot of people, but it can help in that respect, at least. So I don't think it's going to completely evaporate, but it'll cling on in some way or another.
Yeah,
talking about seem to almost. Seem to almost cling to cognitive dissonance. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can be a form of that, sure.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't think religion will ever go away. I certainly don't think it should be like outlawed or banned or prohibited in any way. Like, for instance, I think something as patently wrong as flat Earth shouldn't be banned, or there should be laws against it. I don't think thought policing people is the way to go. I think education, teaching people rational thought, will naturally minimize and shrink the religious footprint we have on humanity until finally, I hope, it gets down to just personal things that people do, that small groups do. No real power, no ability to sway governments or anything like that. That's kind of what I want to see. But I wanted to have that done through conversation and education, not through any type of legislative action or force. But I don't think it'll ever go away. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Well, I'm completely with you on the doing it the proper way, because it's the opposite of what religions have done. They propagated themselves by physical violence sometimes, not just mind control.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, I guess when I say us, I mean free thinkers, skeptics, people who want a secular society. The best thing we can do is to try to do it the right way, as hard as it is and as long as it may take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and on top of that, I don't think we there's no necessity to do that. We've seen, many times in history when somebody tries to force somebody else to do or say or think something, it ends up completely backfiring. Setting aside the morality of it, there's the practicality of it. Like, it just simply doesn't work. As you said, we've seen religion try to use that strategy with, wars and crusades and inquisitions and, even just pressuring. Like, for instance, like even just my upbringing, where my parents and the adults around me were told that, hey, if the children ever step out of line, you want to discipline them with the rod. You want to keep them from talking to people at school. If they have questions or they start expressing doubts, you need to squash that. And we can see, didn't work for me, didn't work for a lot of other people. I think JW retention rate is like 1/3, which means 2 out of 3 people in the JWs eventually leave. So just from a practical standpoint, it's not an effective strategy or solution. And we can see that, even now where, the nuns in the United States, or the non-religious, the atheists, the agnostics, the ones that don't affiliate with any religion, on a historic rise. Yeah. And we see that religion is shrinking. So we can see how those tactics don't work. So we should learn from history and look at that and go, okay, yeah, that's not gonna be the way to go. And then if you bring the morality side back into it, yes, of course, we shouldn't be thought policing people and doing other things like that, persecuting people for what they think and believe. That's not the way to a better world, I don't think. So
it depends on the belief, I think. I think that if I say, well, I believe if I kill people, I'm a better person, I don't think we should be pandering to that sort of belief.
Sure. Yeah, but if that belief starts influencing actions, then I would definitely say
Yeah,
step in.
that's kind of what I mean.
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines is when somebody says to me that we should respect everyone's beliefs. I say, well, okay, do you respect Hitler's beliefs?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
nobody does.
Yeah. There's a difference between respecting the right to the belief and the belief itself too. So yeah.
I think what people usually mean is you should respect something that I respect, or respect something that we see as respectful, but everything should be questioned.
Right. Yeah, I see what you mean. Like you should respect what I think because I think what I think is respectful. So, and I've dealt with that before.
I can respect the fact that you respect it. I can respect that you respect it without respecting the individual thought. I can respect you as a human, but the thought gets evaluated equally.
Sure. Like again, there's some caveats that need to be in place, I think, for some of that stuff. But because I think some beliefs are just despicable. So, and I'm not going to respect you as a person if you hold those beliefs either.
Yeah.
Huh?
Always caveats, no absolutes.
Yeah.
Reality tends to be like that. It's hard to, especially moral landscape and everything. Yeah, definitely. It's all shades of gray. It's never. I can't think of anything that's really one of the reasons black and white. Yeah. Sorry, what?
Yeah, sorry. That's one of the reasons we have trouble communicating with very different views, because people just it's literally a whole different. We use it like the moral landscape, a whole different view of reality, and sometimes you're speaking the same language while not speaking the same language.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like when you have religions that are set up to be good versus evil, the witnesses were very much like that. We're God's one and only true earthly organization, and literally all other Christian religions are Satan's tools, and they're the enemy, and they're instruments of Satan to pull you out and corrupt you and turn you into one of them. Very, very us versus them, good versus evil, black versus white thinking, and just ignoring all the grays in between. In fact, I think
no nuance.
Give folks a preview. Like for instance, our next caller is asking the question: if we died today, will we go to heaven or hell? Binary thinking, not thinking of any other options other than those two. People need to kind of think more subtly about things, and maybe you actually make a very good point there in that people who don't think in binaries, thinking either ors constantly, they are going to have a harder time communicating with those who look for the nuance, who look for other options in there, who can recognize that, hey, this is not a true dichotomy we're dealing with. We have other options to analyze. So yeah, kind of getting people on the same page in that, using like kind of the same logical system, I think is a good first step to communicating better. Definitely.
I would like to throw out one last thing, and it's a generic rhetorical question that people always do a false supposition with. Well, if God didn't create the universe, then who?
Oh, why? See, I've always found that question to be loaded, because you're starting out with a who. It's like, how do we know what didn't start
and the creation?
We don't know that.
That's like going back to my $1 million in the bank example or story or analogy, whatever you call it. You're told your entire life you're going to heaven. You told your entire life you have $1 million in the bank. You grow up and wake up one day and you realize, I'm not going to heaven. I don't have $1 million in the bank. And that's like the question you just said. Well, then who created the universe? That's like in that other situation saying, well, then who has my $1 million? It's like, no, you gotta. There is no $1 million. There likely is no $1 million. So jumping to the assumption that there is, you are opening up this branch of exploration that completely false. You're wasting your time on it. That's why it's really important not to make those assumptions and make those logical leaps, because some people, they think that it's a given. The universe was created because they call it creation. Why not? This creation needs a creator. Those type of assumptions on those types of logical leaps. True. Exactly. Those types of assumptions on logical leaps can set you down the wrong logical path and completely waste your time. And some people never look back and realize, I made a logical leap there. I shouldn't have.
Kachinga actually said exactly that. One of the most diabolical things about this culture is how it wastes so much time.
Yes, absolutely.
The original false presupposition, God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, at least, yeah. I mean, I would call it effectively false. Definitely unproven. No evidence for it.
Well, let me rephrase. Extremely dangerous presupposition that's
Yeah.
used by many.
Yes. Yeah. No compelling evidence for it. No way to falsify it. To me, it's a useless presupposition. But yeah, exactly.
And first, you have to define it because everybody means something different when they use that word God.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why I'm an atheist.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It was good talking to both of you.
Yeah,
I
Dale,
enjoy
for a while.
watching.
Yeah, Dale.
I enjoy watching both of you, and I am a fan of both of you individually.
Well, thanks, Dale.
nice.
Appreciate that.
All right, brother. I guess I'll watch for more of your fun comments that you put on mine all over threads. All right,
Me?
brother. Well, yeah.
Fairly on Thursday. Take care.
You're like the only person that interacts with me on threads right now. So
I should get on Threads more. I have an account.
threads is
That's
cool.
because they don't allow me on the bad place.
No, well, that's right. It's okay. I'm going to be bailing off of X pretty soon. So
Yeah, I think I'm there with you already. I made a post a while ago, about a year ago, saying, yeah, I'm done with X. And I kind of creep back into it. And then now I'm like, yeah, I'm
'Cause
going to
it's
back
useful.
out of it.
right.
Yeah.
It's not the best, but it's useful.
And I noticed.
I was about to say goodbye.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
Dale.
dude, that's
I thought
okay.
you were saying goodbye. Dale, you have a nice night, and
I-
thanks a lot
no,
for the chat.
I have to now do
You what?
I have to now do a quick advertisement for Threads since you did it.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Threads is
Not a bad,
very
it's
much
not
like
a bad
Twitter.
backup to if people are leaving X at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And
And
there
Blue
are
Sky.
plenty
I
of
like
people
Blue Sky.
you'll associate with over there already.
Yeah, for sure. All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care, gentle humans.
All right.
You
Bye,
too.
Dale.
Cheers.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm ready to hop back off of X again, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Yeah,
I
just
still
because
call it
it's just,
Twitter.
yeah, I still call it Twitter too. I try to, but because it's okay to dead name companies and products because they aren't people.
Yeah,
So
that's right. They're not
they are
people,
not
right?
people. So it's okay to dead name them.
Uh,
Yeah, I'm totally ready to get off of that. I don't even touch it really anyways. And occasionally when I do hop on it and I start scrolling, I feel like
It's
I'm like
just-
spiraling into an abyss. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is just not healthy. So yeah, I have to like stop and get out of it. And I don't even post there. And I'm like, okay, I'm just ready to just drop this and get rid of it. It's like just not adding any value to my life.
it's still useful to me because I'm connected with so many people on that.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
So
I mean, the only reason I have my Facebook account still is because it's essentially like for those of you who are old enough, it's my phone book. Like if I need to get a hold of somebody that I knew 30 years ago, but I haven't talked to in 20, Facebook's where I go because that's where I have them as a contact.
Facebook Messenger. Yeah. That
Yeah.
works too.
Yeah. I don't install Facebook on my phone because I don't trust it. It's definitely going to record what you're doing because they want to collect data on you. But just my Facebook account, facebook.com, I keep it just because it is my old school phone book. I know if I need to find my computer science teacher when I was in high school 25 years ago, I know he's there. I can go find him. So
But
yeah.
you have my number anyways already.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Real quick before we go on to the next caller, just want a quick shout out to Fern Salas for a $9.99 super sticker. That's pretty amazing. Thanks so much, dude, for that. Fern
Farron.
also dropped a super sticker on my show last night, so
Sweet.
that's pretty cool.
Thank you so much.
Also, just a reminder, guys, we have Monday nights, we have the Black Free Thinkers, and Thursday nights is the Sunny Spot. Saturdays are the Global Atheists and Women Atheists Unload with lots of great hosts. And Sundays, well, that's this show, Let's Talk, where you get to see, ugly bastards like me and nice looking guys like Eric here chit-chatting to people about beliefs and stuff like that. Which, takes us to, I think, our next call is Paul from Texas. He's a theist. And if you died today, would you go to heaven or hell? Well, let's talk about that, Paul.
Hey, Paul.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Pretty good, man. How you doing?
Doing pretty good.
How are you doing? Good. Yeah, so I'm calling because Eric said something that caught my attention earlier, and it kind of made me think that perhaps you didn't have the best theological education when you were a Christian. So you said that most Christians believe they're going to be going to heaven because they're good people. Did you misspeak, or is that something you believed?
I think generally, probably most people have a heavenly outlook when they evaluate themselves. I'm not saying all of them do. Probably some of them might look at themselves and go, I really think I'm destined for hell. But no, I think in general, probably most people, they have that optimistic outlook about themselves.
Eric, right now you're portraying a severe misunderstanding of the Bible and how salvation works. It doesn't matter if you're a good person. What matters is if Jesus washed away the penalty of your sin with his blood.
So this is the faith over works approach you're taking with it, right?
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
I also wanted to know.
Christianity.
Okay.
Are you a Bible scholar at all, Paul?
No.
Okay.
Do you understand that there's other denominations that will disagree with you?
I get my reading from the Bible from the church that actually created the Bible, which is the Catholic Church.
Okay.
Oh,
the church created the Bible. Interesting.
No.
So do you understand that there's other denominations that disagree with you? They think that works over faith works in conjunction with faith is required, not just faith or being chosen or being born again. You understand that other religions think that, right? Other Christian religions?
Yeah, but those are all heretical sects that have broken off from the one true church.
All right. And then they will say, what about your church in return? If you were to tell them that, what would they tell you back?
By Jesus Christ. No. You don't understand. Jesus gave Peter the keys to the church. And so our church was founded by the Apostle Peter.
Allegedly.
Paul, what did I ask you though? I'm saying if you were to say this to them, those other individuals, what would they say back to you? What would be their criticism of you back?
They would say, I'm not following the Bible, but I would say we have apostolic succession, which tells you how to follow the Bible. And you don't just get to interpret it however Jim Bob Pastor on the corner tells you to. Okay.
So that's kind of an issue though. So as atheists and as agnostics and others, as outsiders, me and Neil, we look at the whole thing and we go, we don't think any of this is true.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I say that I think most people have a heavenly, if I say most people I think have a heavenly outlook, I'm just talking about what I think is the general case among people. You can come in here and say, well, theologically, you're wrong because the Bible says this and that. And I can say, okay, you're quoting Mother Goose to me.
Jesus never said, write a Bible.
You're appealing to heretics. That's like
I'm not appealing to heretics. I'm not saying, Paul. Okay, Paul.
That's like I appeal to Richard Dawkins of the King of All Atheists.
Paul, if I say most people like chocolate cake, am I appealing to heretics? No, I'm just talking about humans in general. I'm not making any statements about actual heaven or hell other than I don't think they exist. I'm talking about what a lot of people think.
Okay. So you don't think there's heaven or hell?
No. Paul, I don't think there's a heaven and hell because I don't have compelling, and Neil doesn't either. I don't have compelling evidence for me to adopt the belief that there is a heaven or a hell or both. But I know a lot of people do.
With the evidence that speaks against the possibility.
I'm sorry, what, Paul?
There's no opportunity for justice in your world. You realize that, right?
How does it appeal to
consequence? Doesn't require
consequence?
Belief in Bible.
Yeah. How does an appeal to a consequence tell us anything about what's real?
Because we know we lived in an ordered world. Because if we lived in a disordered world, we wouldn't be here right now. So we know there must be some order keeping everything together.
I think the world is both ordered and disordered. It just depends on how you define those things.
Yeah.
But Paul, let's go ahead and run with that and say, we have a world where nobody meets ultimate justice. How does that somehow compel some type of ultimate justice to exist? How does that work?
Well, it just makes the atheist outlook bleak, and the only question the atheist has to answer is why not just kill yourself today? Because there's no use, there's no point to any of this, right?
Paul, can you repeat the question? Paul, can you repeat the question I asked you back to me?
I said, I don't remember.
Okay, so that's fine, but please slow down and listen to what I'm asking and think about it. You're appealing to a consequence. The consequence has no bearing on what's actually real. So I can say, I don't have $1 million. I really don't like the idea that I don't have $1 million. Therefore, I must somehow have $1 million. You're saying that there is no ultimate justice in the world. I don't like the fact there's no ultimate justice in the world. That means there must be some type of ultimate justice in the world. That's fallacious. You're appealing to a consequence.
Yep.
No, that just means I need to operate as if there is justice in the world. It doesn't mean that it needs to actually be true. I just need to operate under that presupposition.
So you're talking about. So now you're talking about. Now you're talking about oughts. I ought to do this because of this, and that's fine. You do whatever you want to do based off of what you see. I'm talking about objective reality and what is and actually isn't. And your personal feelings does not at all affect whether or not a heaven or hell actually exists, or justice exists ultimately.
They're all concepts created by us anyways.
Yeah. It's just, like
Also,
I said, if I can say I really hate the fact that I'm not rich, therefore somehow I must be rich. It doesn't logically follow.
Also, I don't believe in an afterlife of any kind. So,
yeah.
I mean, from what we know from physics, like everyday physics is well understood by physicists today.
I think we dropped Paul. I think he hung up.
Oh.
That's
really?
A bummer because Paul, I was actually, this says Paul dropped, maybe purposefully or he disconnected, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say he disconnected. Paul, call back and we can continue our conversation. Because I was going to ask you, why do you believe that heaven or hell actually exists? Because you mentioned the Bible, you mentioned you were a Catholic, you called it the one true religion who created the Bible, which is weird wording.
Which is
but
false.
Yeah, it's weird wording. And maybe they compiled the Bible, but they didn't create it.
I think they were part of the whole Nicaea thing, were they not?
Yeah. But I'm wondering why Paul believes in a heaven or hell. And I imagine if it's a typical conversation, he's going to go to the Bible. We're going to look at scriptures in the Bible, and I'm going to ask Paul, why do you think those scriptures are true? And he'll probably go to either, some type of historical corroboration, which I would love to see that if he hadn't any, or it usually comes down to just faith. We saw his line of reasoning there with, how he was uncomfortable that justice, under the atheist worldview, justice doesn't exist, or ultimate justice doesn't exist.
Nonsense.
Therefore, that somehow adds credence to his theistic worldview of cosmic justice.
Well, not only that, but I mean, you're talking about an all-loving being that's also all-powerful. That completely negates justice in and of itself.
Yeah. One act of mercy from God.
Just.
One act of mercy from God.
Yeah,
sorry.
You know what I mean.
One act of mercy from God, he's no longer perfectly just, because justice is a perpetrator, a perpetrator getting what they deserve. Equality. That's the scales of justice need to be balanced.
Yeah.
But when you have mercy from a God, one act of mercy. One act of mercy, and one act of mercy is all it takes. One act of mercy is all it takes to get that justice scale out of balance. You can dress it up all you want, grace, God's infinite mercy, all these things, but it doesn't really matter because that's not really justice, at least not by any definition I operate under, or I think most other people operate under.
Right.
It's unfortunate Paul disconnected though. If Paul, if you want to call back. I thought the conversation was
even in the chat anymore.
Anyway, that's a bummer, but I wanted to ask more questions, but it's okay. Paul, try to think about what we said, Paul.
I was just sort of explaining because, growing up in the Jewish faith, we always do Passover, right? And then the Pharaoh was like, yeah, okay, you guys can go. Mm-hmm. And then God hardened his heart.
Yep. Changed his mind.
What the hell? That's not just. He was about to have his children freed from slavery or bondage or whatever in the land of Egypt, but then he hardened Pharaoh's heart again, like a douche canoe. Like, who the fuck does that sort of thing? Really? And you worship this guy? Fuck,
I think
bad for you.
Stories like that where God actually intervenes to make his own declarations of prophecies come true, like that disqualifies him from being correct in that situation. For instance, part of the Jehovah's Witness belief is that when Satan tempted Adam and Eve and got them to sin, this was Satan's direct challenge to God and his sovereignty. He's basically saying that humans can manage and live on their own, independent from God, better than they can with God. And that's kind of the whole justification. Sure. I'll wrap up this really quick, and then you can get into the question. But that's the whole justification for why suffering and why the world is like today, is because God is allowing this to occur to fully demonstrate how wrong Satan is and how messed up humans can be without reliance on God and basically vindicate his sovereignty once and for all. That's the whole Jehovah's Witness shtick on spiel about why the world is the way it is. But the story of the Tower of Babel, okay, let's take that at face value and for a moment, hypothetically, or for the sake of argument, say that story actually existed. Mankind was getting together, they were working together, they were building a tower to the heavens. God felt, lack of a better word, threatened by this. They were like, wow, these guys are they're becoming like us. They're going to touch the heavens, and all this stuff. And then what does God do?
Us.
He directly intervenes and sabotages the whole operation by confusing their languages. So God, according to the witnesses, God set up this system of, I need to vindicate my sovereignty. I need to show that humans are not good on their own. And then he, in this case, actively sabotages what humans are trying to do. In the case of Pharaoh, he actively sabotages Pharaoh's act of mercy. And there's other examples in the Bible too, where he steps in and he denies free will and such. It's like, if you cling to this philosophy of heavenly, godly name sovereignty and stuff, he disqualifies himself by doing that. It's kind of like, this is the last thing I'll say. It's kind of like in The Little Mermaid. Remember when Little Mermaid, the Disney movie, Ariel makes a deal with Ursula that if Ariel can kiss the prince before a certain amount of time, then she'll remain a human forever. And when they're about to kiss, she sends her 2 eels to flip the boat over and sabotage the whole operation. It's like, that's exactly what God did with the Tower of Babel. It's like, he sabotaged humans. And then he's like, we're just going to continue on this deal. And I'm going to show you how my name should be magnified. And I have sovereignty over these things, even though he directly, all that stuff. So anyway, internal conflict, there's internal evaluation of this Christian belief. And you can see you have some contradictions in there. Anyway,
absolutely.
You said you had something to say about that though. So
you were talking about the Garden of Eden and the serpent and tricking Eve or Adam and whatnot to eat the fruit. According to what I know from recent knowledge that I've gained from watching Bible scholars, is that Satan isn't the serpent.
Yeah, there's no direct linking of Satan
right.
and the serpent, or even the deceiver and the serpent. I don't think it was just a talking serpent in Genesis. Yeah. Because it's one of the earliest stories we have from humans, and they invented a tale to talk about what they thought the beginning of man was like. Wasn't until later, the deceiver.
Satan wasn't even a thing until later.
Yeah.
It does mention Hashatan in the Old Testament, but that literally means the adversary, and it's used in more than one example as well, talking about adversaries of God.
Yeah.
And also there were more than one God back in the day.
Yeah. Definitely a pantheon going on there, because God's basically saying man will become like us. Like, I think when they ate of the tree of knowledge,
let us make
they had to
them in our image.
They had to stop them from eating from the tree of life, because if that were to happen, then now humans will become like us. It's just it's just a pantheon of gods, and like we see of a lot of ancient religions back then, Greek religion, Roman religion, humans can kill gods. Like, gods are powerful, but they aren't immortal, and humans are a threat to them. And we see this same idea in Genesis. Humans would have been a threat to God had God not intervened and kept them from eating from the tree of life.
Funny, looking into the whole serpents talking or snakes talking for being a little bit more realistic about the terminology.
Yeah,
a serpent would be a snake, but there is a snake that has a vocal cord.
Wow.
Yeah, there's one species that has a vocal cord. However, all it really does is really bizarre hissing, so it can't talk.
I'm gonna ask if this is like just randomly scream. Ah!
Watch where you're walking, human. Yeah, no, there is. They did find a species that has.
Wow, Dale.
1746.
That's the God of War game 6 right there. Whatever comes after Ragnarok, Kratos is going to go after the Hindu gods. Oh my God! Speaking of which, God of War Ragnarok, folks. It's coming out on PC here. I think tomorrow or maybe in a week from now. But amazing theatric game. I was gonna say theocratic. I was like, no, not a theocratic game. It's Kratos. It's Kratos murdering Greek and Norse gods. So that's another. Actually, I was talking about Greek and Roman gods just a few minutes ago. In that game series, Kratos is at first he was a human, and then they kind of retcon that. Now he's like a half son of Zeus. But yeah, man, he devastated the Greek pantheon, and then he went on to do the same thing with the Norse pantheon. And the cool thing is, like, the first 3 games was all that hack and slash. I am super murder guy, kill, and that's all you really get in the first 3 games, which I wasn't really big into. Like, it was a spectacle for sure. He's like John Wick of Greek mythology. But in the latest 2 games, God of War 4 and 5, which was made, decade and a half later, very well thought out, reflective stories of Kratos hundreds of years after doing all this, reflecting back upon these atrocities and him trying to become a better father and not be the god he once was. I think and I play both games, fascinating, amazing stories. If you aren't a gamer, that's fine. Just go into YouTube and just look up God of War 4 and God of War 5 and just watch the cinematic movie. Basically, it's just good stuff. Yeah, really, really good stuff.
I've seen some of that stuff. Honestly, for I think some of the older Batman games, the cinematic.
Yeah.
They're pretty cool.
Yeah,
pretty
the Arkham games, very cinematic,
Yeah.
very well thought out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who doesn't love Batman?
We have more calls.
Sweet.
We have Chris, unknown, from New York. He's a prophet messiah. I'm not sure what that means. So let's get Chris in here, and Chris can explain that. Hi, Chris. How are you?
What's happening, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Yeah, doing good.
Same stuff, different flies. I'm like everybody else. Just lovely world. Destroying the other side of it in the name of God and so on. So not good. But yeah.
Destroying.
What I've done is I've kind of deconstructed Christianity in a positive kind of way.
Okay.
I don't know why my call is breaking. Let me try to. Yeah, I mean, it basically works like this. We don't understand our book, and it's causing a lot of problems. And
okay.
If people could be honest, in the way that they read this thing, and stop thinking of pipe dreams, monsters in the sea and 7-headed this, and it's like, come on, guys, can't you reasonably put your heads together and come up with something that is actually applicable, maybe symbolic, or something that could actually really be something? I mean, is there like a real life reality type of explanation for what these scriptures are trying to tell us? And I'm saying that, yeah, there is. And it's because it boils down to there's a division in scripture. It's written in 2 parts. Even when the law is presented, it's given as a bilateral construct. In other words, there's good and there's evil. And whatever it is that you do is what you're going to get back out. It really is that simple. The problem is people don't like to associate the idea of evil being a part of God. And unfortunately, that's part of reality. Reality consists of good and evil. And
He created both according to the book, right?
Kindly. Yeah, I mean, I'll say it kindly. If God is sovereignly in control, and somehow he's in control of everything, every single thing, including evil. And I'm telling you that evil is just a different teacher, is all it is. It's a different way to get you to learn the same way. He's got one lion calling you into heaven. He's got another one chasing you from behind. And the Jews know this because they do not look at the devil or Satan is actually Ha-Satan. How in the hell does God have a board meeting and invite this guy in there? And when he shows up, he's like, hey, did you stop at Tim Hortons? You didn't forget the donut sticks, right?
I love that you said Timmy's.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
I think we see that in the scripture. We see that with the book of Job, is that, yeah, basically they conferred to talk about Job in heaven before all the bad stuff, before God gave Satan permission to do all the bad stuff to Job.
Well, I want to clarify something real quick here first. The expression you used, Ha-Satan, means the adversary. It's not necessarily talking about Satan. It's used multiple times for different.
No.
people
That's what
in
I'm
the
saying.
organism.
It's messed up. You're right. You're right.
Mhm.
You're right. It is messed up. It's just I cross back and forth between these two zones because of the mistranslations and the mess it's caused. Matter of fact, if you really want to get crazy, the Son of Man, okay, is not a person as much as it is a thing. It is a spirit. It's a spiritual doorway that is opened through faith to God. And you can see that in Numbers 23:19, because Numbers says, is God a man that he should lie, or a son of man that he should repent? And that word repent, the way scriptures are written, the way I'm a programmer, so I will go through lines and lines of code looking for stuff. And it's, if it just looks like a bunch of, scrambling, you're not going to get it. But when you're looking for troubles, very specific details, a misplaced colon, or maybe some type of just some type of digit or character out of place, right? And it causes all these problems for you, or unintended results maybe. But when you read the words, the way they're written, and the scriptures, the way they're written, it's as if the book is designed with built-in stumbling blocks for pride. And we found every single one of them. I mean, Jesus reduced the complexities of the whole thing is to say, love each other. Can't we even try that? Let's try that out. Tried it in 1969, but we didn't like all the tie-dye and, crazy hairdos and maybe smoking weed. And now.
Hey, easy now.
I guess 1969 is going to be okay because everything's legal now, right?
Well, here in Canada, yeah.
So, Chris, from your comments, I take it, are you're a believer? I take it you're a Christian, or can you kind of put labels on yourself so we can get an idea? Yeah. I guess
I'll give you my story. I started on a movie called Die Cheerleader Die.
So hold on, Chris. Before you go into a story, just I'll ask a couple basic questions. One is, do you believe in a God?
I believe that if you believe in something, it exists. Because try and tell your credit card company Santa don't exist come February to pay your bill. Whatever you believe has an effect. So God is a reality.
So if I believe a God that is composed of basketballs, that exists.
Mm-hmm. Sure. But when we talk about God, I say God of gods. In other words, there's more than one God, and this is all theory, right? So there's more than one God.
You mean idea, not theory.
There's a God that's in charge of the gods.
So right? do you mean, Chris, do you mean that the God literally exists, or just simply exists as a concept in your head?
It doesn't matter.
It does.
Oh, it certainly does matter.
It absolutely matters. Because if I believe, so hold on, Chris, if I believe that my wife's in the other room right now, if I believe that the room is filling up with poisonous gas, is that actually happening right now?
No, but will it cause you to run out of the room?
If I believe it, yes, but the objective reality, the fact is the room is not filling up with poison gas. So my thoughts aren't actually affecting reality. As far as I know, yeah. I haven't heard.
So we have an unprovable thing that has effects, right? And that's why I use an equation to describe God, because to me as a programmer, God is mathematics. And my equation is 0 times 0 equals God. That means I can divide by 0, which means if you don't believe what I'm saying right now, we are divided spiritually. But I have an invisible God. I can't even look him in the face or I'll die.
So I have an invisible God. So Chris, let's say I have an invisible God and he's more powerful than your God. In fact, he beats up your God. Do I now have a God beating up your God?
Every God, because he's the God of gods. When Dagon was found,
Chris, my God is the God of gods of gods. So my God of gods is beating up your God right now. I'm thinking about that right now. Is that actually happening?
No, see, that's the thing. Nobody's beating anybody's gods up.
But I'm imagining it though.
It only works one way.
I'm imagining it right now. Chris, I'm using your rules. You said that if you can think of it and conceptualize it, it's real. And I'm conceptualizing, I'm thinking of a God of gods that is beating up your God right now.
I'm thinking
Is
of my
that
neighbor's
happening or
cat
not?
that's beating up your
Okay.
God right now.
For you, it is definitely happening because you believe it,
For me,
and it will affect.
but is it
thoughts
actually
and your
happening
process.
is it actually happening in objective reality? Unless you don't believe in that.
What do you mean by that? My English isn't great on math.
Okay,
I'm a
no
math
worries.
guy. What is objective
So when
reality?
you and I both enter a room together and we both see a chair in the middle of the room, we can both agree that the chair is in the room, right? The chair being in the room is a statement of is an objective statement about reality, right? That chair exists and it's in this room with us right now. That's we're talking about.
So the chair is the object.
Yeah, objective, as in an independent of the mind. If we left the room, that chair would. If we both didn't exist, that chair would still be there. That the chair existing is a fact of reality, independent of the mind. That's objective, right? So if we both can see the chair, we can agree the chair is there. If we both don't see the chair, that chair is still there in reality. It's an objective fact of reality. That chair is still there. So now I'm talking about these. Now I'm using the same thing for gods. Does your God exist in objective reality?
Yes, absolutely, because the scriptures are true, and everything that he says will happen will happen.
How do you know the scriptures are? Why do you think the scriptures are true? There's a lot of them.
How do you know they are?
Yeah,
because I tested them.
How
and they always come up correct and accurate.
Can you give us an example of one of these tests?
I'm like a Berean.
Can you give us an example of one of these tests?
An example of how I...
Yeah.
Okay.
Like your best one.
Well, when I met my wife, before we got married, her mother, she had called me a month after her mother was, she called me a month after we met, but her mother was in the hospital, and she mentioned it. I could hear in her voice. I said, "What's the matter with you?" I go, "I can hear something bothering you. What's wrong?" And she says, "My mom's in the hospital." And I'm like, "What the hell are you calling me for then? How come you should be at the hospital or what?" And I'm look at the clock, and it's like 11 at night. So I asked her, and I said, "What's going on?" And she says, "Well, they don't think she's going to make it." And I said, "What's wrong?" And she says, "Well, she's got diabetes, and they can't get her blood sugar stabilized." And I said, "Well, how long has she had that?" She said, 30 years. And I said, "Oh man." I'm like, "Well, that's not a good time. That's bad. 30 years worth of diabetes, bad." Yeah. And so she asked me, she said, "Will you pray for her?" And we prayed, and the hour we prayed, her diabetes was healed. Her blood sugar came down to normal levels. Then the doctors poked her full of holes for 4 days, wondering what went on. And they said, "Well, we don't know what happened here, but it's like your diabetes has been healed." And it's like, okay. And guess what? For another 10 years, she never took another pill or injection or anything for diabetes after she got out of the hospital.
Is she still alive?
I believe in miracles. I believe in God. Okay.
Chris
I believe that there is a God.
Chris, is your mother-in-law still alive?
No, actually, as I was trying to tell you, I'm a prophet, and the night of when the war started.
What Chris, let's focus on Chris. Let's focus on one thing here. Chris, I'm sorry. I don't want us to get sidetracked.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
Your mother-in-law is not alive anymore. What did she die of?
She died of a heart attack, we suppose, but she did get the vax, so her arteries could be clogged up with something else.
All right.
No.
So analyzing. So Chris, analyzing your story. Okay. You're saying that, okay, you have prophetic abilities. You prayed over your at the time she wasn't, but your future mother-in-law, because she was sick in the hospital, looking grim, suffering from diabetes.
Miracle healing. Yeah.
You prayed, and then all of a sudden she was recovered. Is that your story?
Right. Yeah. I attribute that to prayer and God.
For the sake of argument,
he said she didn't have diabetes anymore, which I find hard to fucking believe.
I do too.
Because it doesn't disappear.
I do too. But let's just take that slice of the story that your mother-in-law was sick in the hospital.
Medical documents to prove it, and if anybody wants to bet money on it, I'll do it in a second because I could use the cash.
So, Chris,
but
let's take that story at face value for a moment, okay? Sick mother, you prayed, she got better. How did you logically link the prayer and her getting better? How do you demonstrate that the prayer itself caused her to get better?
I asked God to help, and help came.
That's how you logically link it?
Him?
How do I logically connect it?
Yeah.
I'm a results. I'm a what happens equal opposite reaction. Math.
So, hey, Chris, for a moment,
you do
Chris,
something and a result happens.
Let me rephrase the question here. For a moment, pretend that your prayer actually didn't do anything. How else would you explain her recovery?
Okay. I don't know. See, you're asking me to be ignorant of things that I know and that I've experienced in my life.
Do other people,
Chris? But I would have to say what? Coincidence?
Chris, do other people recover without prayer? Do other people recover from illnesses spontaneously? Cancers, diabetes?
Sure, but God blesses everybody.
How do you know that's happening, though? That's my question. How do you demonstrate that to us?
Well, I have to trust the news or people being cured of disease. I don't. Not everybody believes in God.
Chris, I know, Chris, people are people. People can misremember things. People can lie. People can have false memories. People can hallucinate. People can make these logical links that this happened, therefore must have caused this other downstream thing to happen. You said you're a programmer, right? Do you work with pipelines and CI/CD?
I'm not going to discuss I can't.
Okay, fine. I'm a programmer. I'm a programmer. I'm a programmer and I work in CI/CD and I do stuff. Certain jobs can cause downstream jobs to execute.
My entire job. Listen,
Chris,
I programmed my entire job to run itself, and then for 8 months ran around
that means
with my hands in my pockets until
that must mean you use CI/CD then. That's good.
And they promoted.
So,
Chris, I can program, okay?
Chris, I'm trying to draw an analogy here to help you understand. Okay, in CI/CD, I set up one job that can work, and I can set up one job that can work and do things on another job.
You're trying to help, what are you trying to help me understand?
I'm trying to draw. Chris, I'm not trying to patronize you. I'm drawing an analogy between something I hope you understand, which I think you understand CI/CD. You understand that. And I'm not saying you don't. I'm explaining it for the audience because I'm drawing a comparison between the CI/CD pipeline and what you did with your mother-in-law. In a CI/CD pipeline, I can set up jobs and write code that will then execute other downstream jobs. It's called a pipeline or a chain of jobs. And I can show you in the code, here's where this code executes the next job. And in the next job, here's where this code executes the next job. I can show you that logical link, that chain going all the way down. Now, in the example with the hospital, you're saying you prayed and she got healed. And you're claiming that the prayer caused the healing to occur or the prayer motivated God to do the healing. And I'm asking you, show me the links. Show me how the prayer did that.
I've unmuted you, by the way.
All I can say is when I pray, things happen.
Okay. When I prayed, nothing happened.
Yeah. Do you ever pray and nothing happens, Chris?
And again, sometimes.
Okay. So you have some prayers.
I don't say prayers randomly like everybody else. I don't just go begging God like he's my waiter.
No, you're just.
So Chris, by your own admission, you pray and some things happen, and you pray and other things don't happen. How is this not just random chance? What's more plausible? God's actually listening to your prayer. What's more plausible?
Let me give you another example.
I don't want another example. I want you to answer the question, Chris. Chris, I don't need another example.
Hang on, I'm putting you on fucking mute again.
Chris, I don't want another example. I want you to answer. I'm going to hold on.
I muted him.
Okay. Chris, I don't want another example. I want to talk about the example you gave us because you said, I asked you for your best example, and I'm hoping you gave us your best example. But you, by your own admission, just a few moments ago, you said that God answers some of your prayers and other prayers God doesn't answer. And from me and Neil's point of view, non-believers, this evidence you're giving us is just random chance. You are selectively and biasly choosing the results you like and throwing out the ones you don't. This is called confirmation bias. This is not impressive. Mm-hmm. Can you show me the logical link between your prayer and God doing something for you?
good can't. It's like the book of Job where he said, "Shall we not accept both good and evil at the hand of God?" Both.
He created them both. So.
I think the book of Job was invented by man and doesn't.
And Isaiah says it. Isaiah says, "I form light and I create darkness." Forming his works, creating his idea. I make peace and I create evil. What? Yeah, that's what the Lord does. As per Isaiah, I create evil.
So, Chris,
I, the Lord, do all these things.
Chris, when I consider,
I just see the truth of
Chris,
action and reality.
All right, Chris, when I look at the Bible, Chris, I see two possibilities, at least two possibilities with the Bible. One is the Bible is actually inspired by a God. The other possibility is that the Bible is just a collection of writings written by various men over a long period of time that was compiled together by a church. So when I look at the plausibility of both of these things, when I look at the plausibility and I ask myself, what's more plausible? A God did this or man did this? I go with man did this because that is the most plausible explanation for it. As such, these scriptures don't mean anything to me.
Well,
these scriptures have no power and no motivating oomph to them for me when you're trying to convince me about these things. Because I don't think that these are words of any type of divine being. The same way I don't think your prayer healed anybody.
You see negative stuff in there, right?
No, what I see, stories stolen from other belief systems and rewritten for their purposes. That's what I see.
A lot of the stuff in the Bible is recycled from other religions.
Right. And that's why I say that Hebrew and Greek are completely different, because the lake of fire,
I speak Hebrew.
You're standing in it right now. You're standing in it. You're standing in the lake of fire. This is where we're tested. And like everything else that is put in a fire, a kiln, it's proof, tested, it comes out, whatever it is. That's all life is.
So, Chris.
Life is life.
Chris,
it's not a fucking dress rehearsal.
It is. And there's good and there's evil. And you learn one way or the other. You learn by doing something that's tested and proven and works, or you learn the hard way.
So,
and I
Chris,
believe in the hard way as well as the good way.
Chris, when a God, let me ask the last question. Chris, when you pray to God and God does not answer that prayer, what do you tell yourself?
I tell him this.
Okay, then he hangs up on God, I guess. So, man,
okay.
Yeah. So, Chris,
have another caller.
Unfortunately, I'll make my last statement here. Unfortunately, Chris has boxed himself into a belief that he can't escape from. It's like he put himself in a room, and that room doesn't have an exit door. He has no way to falsify these claims, because by his own admission, God will either answer or not answer his prayers. He chooses to believe that God is behind his mother-in-law's supposed recovery in the hospital, if that story is true.
Diabetes doesn't run away. It doesn't disappear. It doesn't go away.
Yeah, but for the sake of argument, I said let's just go ahead and accept these things as actually happened. What can we analyze to actually explain these things? And by his own admission, he doesn't know of a way to link his prayer to motivating God to an action to actually heal his mother. And when God doesn't answer other prayers, I was trying to get to an answer from him, but he says it happens. God doesn't answer his prayer sometimes, but that's not evidence against the God existing. Like he's now in a situation where no matter what happens, it just simply confirms and fortifies the belief. He has no escape route out of this belief. That's Chris, if that belief is false, you're trapped in it. You have no way out. You could be believing in a God that doesn't exist, a false God.
You'd have to dump everything.
Yeah, like
it's the only way out.
You're trapped, and until you can look at the evidence and go, what in this evidence, what potential evidence could show to me that I'm wrong, then you're trapped. You can't get out.
I don't think he's capable of steel manning his own position, though.
If you look to science. And I'm not saying science and religious belief should be one-to-one the same, but science is a huge, awesome thing going for it. Yeah. Science has an awesome thing going for it, and that's called falsification. Literally every
Yes.
single scientific claim has falsification criteria or criterion.
That's right.
Basically, this is what if this theory is false, this is what we would see. For instance,
Yep.
theory of gravity. If I let go of this pen and it flies up, if I see that happen, theory of gravity is falsified, and we don't see that because we know.
Or you're standing in a vacuum.
Or I'm hanging upside down. I've been doing this entire live stream upside down just to freak people out by doing that. But no, like, what potentially, Chris, could you look at and say, oh,
we have another call, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just want to beat up on Chris some more. Think about it, Chris. Think about it, please. I'm begging you. All right.
This call's for you, Eric. Right?
Oh, sweet. Let's take a look.
Daruth, I think is the name here, from Tennessee. He's an ex-JW like you and wants to share a personal experience and observations and compare notes with you. So we don't have a whole hell of a lot of time, but yeah, we'll definitely do this for sure. Welcome to the show. Is it Daruth?
Daru, yeah.
Oh, right. Daru. Okay.
Yeah,
Daru.
So I'm Kachingaverse, by the way. I've been watching y'all's show and commenting on everything you're saying.
Oh, are you in the chat?
Yeah, I'm in the chat. I'm the Kachingaverse.
Oh, Kachinga. Hey, how you doing? All right.
Yeah.
The connection has been made. So cool.
So I wanted to. I wanted to.
You're right. Some diabetes is curable, but that's not actual like full on diabetes. There's type 1 and type 2, and I think what is it? Type 1 is the hard one or the hardcore one, or is it type 2?
Yeah, that would have been sorry, 1 second, Drew. That would have been another great question too. Like, what treatments were the doctors putting that mother-in-law under?
That's what I was
while he was praying. Yeah, that was a missed opportunity there. So, Chris, what treatments was your mother-in-law going under? Maybe that did the job, and your prayer did nothing. Think about it. Anyway, go ahead, Ruth. So your next JW, like me.
I got a question about that guy. Let's talk about that guy. So, is there any point in even talking to Christians? I mean, what's the point of this discourse when people that call in don't hear you? They can't hear you.
Yeah, the thing is, I sorry, Neil. I'll say my part really quick. When I do this here and I do this over on the line, many times the conversation is not for the sake of the interlocutor. I genuinely want to get through to the person I'm talking to. I genuinely want to ask them questions, get their response, analyze it, help them pick it apart. I genuinely want to help them. But in a forum like this where you're talking to somebody, in a forum like this where you're talking to somebody in front of an audience, those shields and defenses go up, and it can be very difficult to get a person to change their mind on air or even say, hey, I may be wrong about this. I've had it happen occasionally, but ultimately the conversation that we just had with Chris is for the sake of the audience. It's for the sake of the doubter out there, the person who's questioning, thinking about these things. They can sit back and listen. They're not the one on the spot. They're not the one being, socially threatened by, a contentious, cantankerous atheist. And they can
not to call me names.
I'm so sorry, Neil. And so they can listen to that and take it away and think about it on their own time. So as dark as it is, usually the caller is a sacrificial lamb for the sake of the audience. But
I've never thought of it that way.
Yeah, so that's
going to every time. So
Daru, that's kind of the dynamic here. I want to talk to the person genuinely, but if they get like Chris was, then it's okay. You're gonna be blood on my altar.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So I want to tell you about this experience I had. Recently, like 2 weeks ago, one of my baby mamas. So I was a Jehovah's Witness at the age of 30. I lost my mother, and that right there, as a Jehovah's Witness, I was told my whole life from the age of 8 that I was never going to die. So I thought I was immortal, essentially, as a Jehovah's Witness, as all Christians basically do.
Mm-hmm.
And so when she died, and basically I think my mom, I had a stepdad, so she was like my God in a sense. And when she died, and plus they always said, you'll never need to get married, and you'll never have to go to school, and you'll never have to do all this stuff. Jesus will be back tomorrow.
Yeah.
So when she died, that broke the spell slightly. It really messed me up, and I got thrown out of the church. The congregation.
Yeah.
After,
the Kingdom Hall.
Just not being able to handle things. And then I got to experience the real truth of what it's like when you're disfellowshipped and supposedly they're about bringing you back because I wanted to come back.
Mm-hmm.
I was still a Jehovah's Witness in my heart.
Yeah.
But the reality is everybody are just people, and they're not really, there's no God out there really doing anything like that, trying to bring people back, and people aren't really, the culture isn't really trying to save anybody.
Yeah.
So, so that was hard to grasp, and it took about 12 years, and it honestly took mushrooms for me to finally break free of just even the Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
oh my goodness, I need to have you on my show, dude.
Yeah.
Here's the final point of the story. My baby mama calls me. I had several kids outside of the church, but she calls me, and my daughter that was a Jehovah's Witness is now getting married all of a sudden against their wishes at the age of 19, which is exactly what I did and what happened to her mother also. So there's this whole culture of people making all these terrible decisions in their lives because they have to, basically. Yeah. And so I finally call my daughter up, and I get to talk to her, and I'm thinking I'm going to get a chance to talk to her for the first time. But still in her heart, she's a Jehovah's Witness. So I know, I remember being one, and how it felt like Jehovah is looking over your shoulder all the time.
Yeah.
And when that occurred to me, I realized the whole world is fucked for that reason. Oh, excuse me, I'm not supposed to.
No, that's fine.
The whole world
You're fine, dude. I do it all the time. So.
So, all mankind is basically living like most people, not everybody, but most people are living with this dread, this fear of even considering anything else. So that's basically what I wanted to discuss with you guys. To me, here's the reason why this hit me so hard is because I thought my daughter was safe when I was, disfellowshipped, and I knew I wasn't going to be in my daughter's life. I thought, well, at least she's in a safe environment. Mm-hmm. But here she is at 21 years of age, a complete idiot. I mean, really, she has the potential to be a genius, but she's an idiot because she can't think outside of this framework. And then I started seeing the whole world like that. Should we can we do more to stop this? It seems like I'm starting to see almost like a kind of a body snatcher world in which everybody's been converted to this weird mentality, but the people who get free can't even help them. I guess that's the end of my statement. If you guys want to discuss that. How do we save people from this crazy matrix?
It can be very difficult, especially with the witnesses. The witnesses are very cult like. They are a cult. I sort of call them a cult many times, but the structure is designed in a way to trap people in, to keep them from questioning, to segregate and cut off others that are questioning and doubting. Once you step out of line, you're disfellowshipped, like in your case, and you're isolated now from all the quote unquote healthy witnesses. Because you're obviously you're a corrupt influence trying to pull them out. Like that, at least that's what they're saying. So yeah, it can be very difficult. Where
another word they like to fling out on you.
Yeah. So it can be very difficult, especially with a
if you try to talk against it. Like if you're fine, like at one time I wouldn't say anything about it, but now that I'm feel like I need to actively try to help them to get away from it. Now I'm in apostate. Yeah. And that's I remember what that word meant. So they're protected from me.
Yeah. It can be very difficult. In my experience, and you're not going to have 100% success with getting individuals out. I've had various levels. I think my dad got out on his own for the most part. I gently encouraged him at certain key points, but I never was on him all the time about it. And then I have others that in my family that'll never leave, and I don't think I ever will leave. And I think it'll be probably pointless to even try. And that's just a sad reality of it, because I want to see them all get out of that cult, and all of them to, start thinking for themselves, thinking critically, start using the intellectual assets that they have been granted. You called your daughter, I guess you said she was an idiot, but I wouldn't necessarily put it that way.
What I mean?
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Marry at the age of 21 to a 19-year-old because your mom or the church says that you should.
Wait.
Steph,
the guy was 41.
Wait, what? Yeah.
Did you say he was 41?
She's 21. My daughter's 21, and her husband's 19. And basically the reason why they're doing that, because I remember I was in the same scenario. You have to, because you want to have sex, obviously.
If I had a bet, it's
going, man, this is a fucked up cycle.
Yeah.
This is a messed up cycle because it's going to keep happening. They're going to make all these terrible decisions based on this space wizard or whatever. It's just nuts.
Yeah. I saw individuals do that too back when I was in.
And the thing is that all Christians are in this cult. I realize that Jehovah's Witnesses aren't a cult because I definitely know I was in a cult. But everybody that I try to talk to that's a Christian talks exactly like I used to talk.
Yeah.
They don't.
Seth Andrews. Seth Andrews either wrote a book or gave a talk basically saying that, Christianity made me talk like an idiot.
The book, I actually have it like right down there.
Yeah, Seth Andrews has a book called "Religion Christianity Made Me Talk Like an Idiot," and you can take a generally very intelligent person who makes very good decisions otherwise, and then once those decisions butt up against the religion, then the religion kind of takes over the logical process and makes that person do very quote unquote dumb things or things that don't necessarily have the future in mind. They become complacent. They think that, like you mentioned earlier, well, God's going to step in and correct this world anyway. So I don't need to vote. I don't need to get a career. I don't need to get a job. I don't need to buy a house or stuff like that. And it steps in,
or my kids or my wife, all this crazy shit.
Yeah, it steps in. It interferes with that logical process. And I've seen right in my own family, I've seen some very, very, very bad decisions made by individuals, and myself included. Back when I was around, I made some boneheaded decisions when I was a witness because I was allowing those things to influence me.
Me too.
Thankfully, here in the U.S., like I said, the nuns are on the rise, religiosity is on the decline. Witnesses are hemorrhaging money and hemorrhaging people. It's definitely, I don't want to say it's dying, but it's definitely on the decline. Whether they'll be able to U-turn that one day and recover, I don't know. But I hope this trend continues, because I want to see the Witness as an organization go away. I want to see people get out of that. But as for helping your daughter, are they already married? Did they already get married? They're already gone through with it?
Yeah, they already got married.
Yeah.
Hopefully the sex was good then.
I mean, they're doomed. And even if they're successful in their marriage, they're now going to be, basically, because here's what happened to me. I did the exact same thing. And then I spent 10 years married to a horrible person.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to spend eternity married to that person. So that was the other thing that was like torture for me.
I've heard similar stories of people.
Me too.
I've heard similar stories of people doing that.
And so my daughter gets that same situation. She's also screwed. So it's like the number of people that are doing that. The way in which this is happening, if you just count it by the number of Christians in the world, it's diabolical what this thing is doing to the mankind.
Yeah. My advice for you and I don't have any kids, so take this with a grain of salt. I know it's a lot easier for me to say over here than it is for you.
Yeah, I don't have any either that I'm aware of anyway.
But I mean, like with the marriage thing, what's done is done. Whether or not that marriage is successful is largely up to them. And sure, you're going to have the witnesses trying to interfere with that, trying to get her to be submissive to her husband and the whole headship arrangement. It's like, that's another toxic factor.
I mean, not even the number of things you can talk about now about the Bible that I understand from a different point of view, because I applied my Jehovah's Witness personality to just understanding the world, which they're very, very studied. And now I'm like, I noticed you were trying to basically witness to that guy, so it's like we can't even escape it.
Yeah, that might be one of the reasons why I kind of do what I do, is because I'm not because I was a witness and I was witnessing. But
I'm not saying the same thing. I want to witness to the whole world and get them to not be Christians, but
I wouldn't actually say it that way. I would actually, me personally, I don't necessarily. I mean, I could be self-denial here. Who knows? I could be fooling myself. That's all possible. But I do it mainly because I talk to others, because I've seen the damage it did to me in my life, much in the same way that you have it done to your life, and what you're seeing potentially what's happening with your daughter. I experienced and I've witnessed that very real harm, and I want to prevent it from happening to others. That's one of the things. And also these conversations, these conversations with you about, commonalities, or conversations with Chris earlier, where we have opposing viewpoints, it helps me refine and better understand my own deconstruction. So it's part of my own self-learning journey. Mm-hmm. I don't ever look at this as witnessing, like I'm going out there to do the good work or anything like that. I do this mainly for personal reasons. No. Yeah. But
a little bit tongue in cheek.
Okay, I gotcha. So you said that, you are disfellowshipped, right? And apostate was thrown around, which can also be a very bad thing. Does your daughter at least interact with you and talk to you? Like, are you able to maintain a relationship with her?
So here's the irony of this whole thing. She calls me, her Jehovah's Witness mother and Jehovah's Witness stepfather call me, tell me that she's getting married, she's eloping. So they can't support that. But she calls me to support, which I don't know what that was about. Maybe in some way guilt on her part for not participating. Anyway, I go, but the irony is she didn't even want me there. She didn't see me. She saw me as the bad, irresponsible father, even though the reason I wasn't in her life was because I thought that Christianity was better for her at the time. See, that's how messed up it is. I thought Christianity was better for her and that I was bad and I was evil and all these things because I was still a Jehovah's Witness in my heart. So I go to her wedding and she wants her Jehovah's Witness mother and Jehovah's Witness stepdad there. So my even coming to the thing made no sense. In a way, I feel like her mom had me attend so that she would be punished even more. How effed up is that? She used me to punish her daughter because she knows her daughter still believes in the Jehovah's Witness stuff, and my being there.
That's fucked up. That's fucked up.
Basically, I mean, it's really messed up. It's messed up. That's what happened. And so I saw that, and then, for a brief moment, I tried to talk to her husband, and while I was talking to him, I could hear myself at his age. It was eerie. My father was not a Jehovah's Witness. My biological father was not one, and he tried to talk to me. And I remember having a conversation with him where I said the exact same things this guy says to me when I was saying the things my father said to him. So it was like I knew instantly there was no point in talking to him because I remembered there was no point in my father talking to me at the time.
It's kind of, you see history repeating itself there. Well, so it sounds like your relationship is rocky to say the least. So
it's just too bad.
Well, the Jehovah's Witnesses, what I'm supposed to do? I can't do anything.
Yeah. So I mean, my advice in there is if you guys have no communication, then obviously you can't talk to her, communicate with her, talk about ideas, or if in your case, you want to influence her away from the witnesses. If you aren't communicating, you're not going to ever have those opportunities. So part of
what would be the point anyway? Do you
a part of leaving the witnesses in my case, and I've seen this with other people too, is learning to let go of that. And this is not me accusing you of this at all. I'm just saying this is from my own reflections. The inclination or the desire to control or overly influence others in their lives. That can be because obviously with the witnesses, obviously they're God's one and true earthly organization. The elders have God's blessing and direction, so they want to control others and to influence them positively in the context of the religion.
Well, let me just clarify one thing. The only reason I care is because she's my daughter.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm like I said, I'm not
my daughter. I had hope for.
yeah, and I believe you have the best of intentions with everything you're trying to do, and that's not me at all saying that you're like that. But giving up, kind of letting go of that, and at a certain point in your life, you got when you're, and like I said, it's easy for me to say I don't have kids, but I imagine at some point in life, kids are going to grow up, they're going to make their own mistakes, they're going to do things, repeat mistakes that you made that you could see obviously coming, and basically the crux of it is
for a long time. That's what bothers me.
The crux of it is, if you want to be there to help guide your daughter and keep her from repeating some of your mistakes that you made or new mistakes that might be in her future, then having a good line of communication is crucial. And if you find that the way you're approaching the whole thing is damaging to the relationship, then maybe you should take a look at that and go, okay, what can I do to kind of reevaluate how I'm interacting with her and the witnesses? Because you got to kind of partially meet them on their own grounds, or else they're just going to cut you off as an apostate and never talk to you. And you'll cut off that communication. That might involve making some compromises. It might involve biting your tongue.
Give me a great idea. I should pretend like I'm trying to come back.
I wouldn't.
I don't know if I'd do that.
That might work, but it's also not very genuine. So, but it's like you do you. But obviously, come to her. Like if you go to her with genuine interest, and be diplomatic about it, because it can be very easy to get in there and be contentious and I know a good counterpoint to this thing that they're talking about, or I know how to slap this down, or, oh, hey, did you hear that they just booted Tony Morris off the governing body because of X, Y, and Z? That's going to shut down communication. The best way I think to approach that is basically be diplomatic, choose your battles, be tactful, repair that relationship so you can at least have some influence in your daughter's life, because you're obviously doing this out of genuine care and concern. Some is better than none. And you're never going to have a perfect situation, I don't think, with that. You're not going to swoop in there and deconvert all of them and free them all from their religion. I think that's probably unrealistic. I wasn't able to do that. I never heard anybody else able to do that with their loved ones. It's really just meeting them where they're at and trying to deal with that on their own terms. And that might involve some compromise. It might involve, like I said, biting your tongue in certain places. Some is better than none, in my opinion. That's my 2 cents as a non-father. Take it as you will.
I really appreciate that. I really do. I do, because I haven't spoken to another Jehovah's Witness like that, or ex-Jehovah's Witness, and it is bothering me.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's any point in trying, but it does sound like you're saying I should at least try a little bit.
It sounds to me, from what I've heard from you, it sounds like you obviously are concerned about this and you value this. So I say that's cause enough. That's reason enough to keep on trying. And if it comes down to just, here's another thing too, something I've heard other people mention when they're interacting with family members who are very religious and they're, constantly butting heads. You can make arrangements and agreements and say, okay, I won't talk about this if you don't talk about this, or I promise I want to hang out and have some dinner. I promise I won't broach these subjects because I just want to see how you're doing. How's family? How's friends? How's college? If she's going to college. Probably not the witnesses, but just like, how's your day-to-day life? Like, just make those human connections. Make those human connections.
You're spot on.
And not worry about the religious stuff, and just work on repairing the relationship first, because it can be very, very trying and very difficult to get that far. So, but that's all I got to tell you about that, man. Best of luck to you.
Question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's the point? What's your team for? You said something about joining the team. What's the team for? I'd be interested in that.
Oh, the Skeptic Haven team, Neil.
Oh,
you mean Neil's on out there a second.
Yeah, sorry. No,
sorry, no, I didn't. This was included you.
Neil gets up really early for work, so he's probably zombifying right now in front of our eyes. But
I'm okay. I'm okay. When I meant my team was part of the awesome team here that works behind the scenes, or even can come on and be a host or co-host on the show itself. That's what I'm talking about. I've already got one of my friends involved in this already, and he probably hates me now.
An email anyway.
Oh, you sent me an email. Oh, excellent. Yeah, because I'm always looking for guests to come on my show.
I want to be on that team and try to spread the news of. So one last question: I've heard another atheist say that the word atheist doesn't even make sense, and now I kind of agree with that. Don't believe in.
Well, I don't know if
you don't believe in unicorns.
I don't know if it doesn't make. Yeah, you'd be an unicornist. I don't know if the word doesn't make sense. I mean, it makes sense in the context that most people use it, which is atheism means you don't have a belief in any deities, and that's literally all it means, right? It doesn't say, you're not making any hard line.
But you can't really label.
You just say, "I don't believe the claims."
Because then that would make you go, "Don't."
Well, I'm a proud vampirist. Vampirism is not really in the social eye, so we don't really talk about all that much. But if you want to talk about my vampirism, I'm willing to talk about that. Right. I think it really just comes down to the way the words are.
In nature, sir. That's scientific. Now you're denying science, and I don't know if I can go along with that.
I think it really comes down to just the way the word is defined and who you're talking to,
or its usage.
Or its usage.
Somebody might have a different definition for it, like everyone's explanation for God seems to be different.
Yeah, but for atheism, though, the philosophical definition's a bit different from the more colloquial definition.
Right.
So if you're talking to people about it, it's usually good to set the definitions first. Like, what do you mean by atheism? What do you mean by theism?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
They almost always mean only the Judeo-Christian God too.
Can be, yeah.
Right.
In ancient Rome, Christians were known as atheists because they didn't believe in a plethora of gods. They believed in one. Yeah, but they didn't believe in all the other gods. So for the Romans were like, yeah, these guys are atheists because they don't believe in these gods. Technically, though, like with our definition today, they believed in one God.
I don't know that I don't believe we weren't made. I still conceive of the possibility that we were made. Maybe in more like, maybe we're in a simulation, in which case there was potentially,
I don't buy that either.
definitely not be a god in my mind.
Yeah.
But so that's potentially how we came about. We don't know how we came about.
Well, we do actually. We do, and they have recently found more evidence that takes us even further back. Yeah. So we do know how we formed.
I think we have reasonable confidence that we know where we came from.
We don't know where the matter came from. We don't know the origin of our reality. I mean, there's a lot of things science definitely doesn't even attempt to discuss. But so that leaves a lot open, So I mean,
anyway,
there could still be,
for another day,
simulations, things like that.
There
I think are more. And here's another thing.
I don't
simulations. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get off topic for just a second.
Sure.
Just for a moment. Simulations. If simulations were how it came about, if you consider the logic of games and simulations, applying that logic to real life is actually more practical than most religions. So as a religion, it's a better religion. Sorry.
I kind of see what you're saying, that if we are in a simulation, there's a logical structure and rules behind it. So we should take advantage of that and navigate the simulation using those rules. I mean, if that, then sure.
It's a better way to guide your life.
It's a big if, but if that is true, then sure, that would work. But I don't think, I can't discount it as a possibility, but I think the plausibility of that is so low that I can just safely ignore it. Yeah. But I won't declare it impossible because I don't know. But
yeah.
All right. Any Daru, thanks a lot. We really appreciate the call, and good luck, and all the best to you.
I'll keep watching.
All right, cool, man. Later.
Thanks, Drew. One real quick thing before we bring the show to a close. We don't have any more calls, guys, so we're not taking any more. Because it's time for the show to wrap up. But Chris is in the chat over there now, and I just want to tell you something, Chris, real quick here. I did a little research while you disappeared. There is no cure for diabetes. However, type 2 diabetes can and has, in past cases, spontaneously gone into remission. But it's not gone, it's just in remission. And there are cases of it. It says, I found a whole bunch of stuff here. And it can be reversed with proper diet, which is something I'm personally working on myself. As I was told by my doctor, I was pre-diabetic. So I'm now changed my diet completely, and I'm working out more, and I'm doing more things so that I don't end up with diabetes. But it doesn't go anywhere. Diabetes, there is no cure. The likelihood of your invisible buddy in the sky there waving his fingers and it disappears isn't likely.
Yeah.
Period.
And even if we have no records of diabetes remissing or going into remission on their own or spontaneously going away, even if we do, but even if we didn't, and that still happened to Chris's mother-in-law, that still doesn't demonstrate a logical link between prayer and a God.
Correct.
That occurring.
That's right.
He's going towards his preferred explanation while discounting others. And that was the point of the question of, for hypothetically for a moment, let's say you're wrong about what you attributed to, what other explanations can you come up with? That was the point of that question. And Chris, I'm looking at your reviews in the or stuff in the chat. For the record, I didn't call you a liar at all. I think you're being absolutely sincere with me. I just think that the things you're attributing your explanations to might be misdiagnosed, misplaced. And that's why I was asking you questions, to get you to maybe just explore the possibility that your attribution, your evaluation of it might be mistaken.
Yep.
At all not calling you a liar.
We make mistakes all the time.
Yeah. And that was the point of the different possibilities. When atheists like me and Neil and other people hear these fantastical stories, we're immediately going through our heads, hallucination, false memories, possibility of lying. Not that was an accusation, but it's a possibility. It not just with you, with other people that I talk to.
Not so much lying, but embellishing the story.
Misremembering, bad memory, all that kind of stuff. All kinds of human flaws can get in there, and
modern neuroscience says we do that sort of stuff all the time.
Yeah, and neither of those
help it. And
none of those are an accusation. They're just possibilities that we're exploring. Because if I came to you and said, "Hey, I was out of my living room just 10 minutes ago, and I saw a pink unicorn, and he gave me a cupcake and said, "Good job tonight, Eric. Here's a cupcake." If I were to tell you that, what do you think?
Did it have sparkly things in its
Yeah,
guts?
it was very sparkly, very, very sparkly. The most sparkliest unicorn I've ever seen. But like, if I were to tell Chris that story, what is he going to be asking me about? Is he going to be asking me, okay, well, are you on anything? Did you eat some bad pizza earlier? Are you lying to me? Are you just messing with me? Are you joking with me? Like, all kinds of possibilities. And I just think about those things. Think about all the stories you've heard about these, and not just stories about Christianity. There's plenty of stories in Islam, plenty of stories in Mormonism and Hinduism, and all kinds of other pagan religions where people are tripped up on drugs and see all kinds of things. We have so many conflicting religious stories.
Yeah.
And Chris, your story is just one in a plethora of them. And your story is backed up by the same quality of evidence as all the other ones. And that quality is poor. It's just an anecdote. You can't logically link the prayer to the healing. And these are the same questions I would ask anybody else. And I would probably reasonably expect the same answers out of them. So anyway, I'll go ahead and leave that there. We do appreciate the call, Chris. I did not call you a liar. And I do hope to talk to you again one day. Hopefully maybe next time you see me on the show here or you see me on the line, go and call me back up. Let's continue our conversation.
Apparently not believing a prophet is blasphemy. I'm not afraid.
That I don't believe you and I'm a blasphemer. Demonstrate to me. That was the Mandalorian, wasn't it? That was a Mandalorian ringtone.
It's a phone call coming through.
Yeah. Chris, for the record, I don't believe you're a prophet. And if that makes me a blasphemer, then I'm a blasphemer.
Yep.
Because
I ain't going to the hell you believe in, so who cares?
Because, Chris, you have failed to demonstrate to me that you are a prophet.
That's right.
All right.
Anyways, guys, we're going to wrap this up. I think thanks everyone who called in. Always fun talking to folks about stuff. Also want to take a moment to thank our patrons. We've got some amazing patrons. We get Paul Camish, Karen Butcher, Helen Green, Logan Fisher, Amanda McLeod, Eric Ozols, Rion, Deneen Murphy, Dandy, Michael Wiseman, Puck, and I said Puck with a P. Don't get excited, people. Sunny Shell, Aaron Coalson, and Phil Calderone. And if you want to become a patron, I'm sure there are ways you can that'll be popped into the chat by the Nightbot or somebody else. So that's it. Eric, man, great hanging out with you and doing the show.
Yeah, man.
It's a lot of fun.
Had a good time. It's been a little while. So, yeah, I'll try to stop by your next stream. And, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we got Jeff something or other, I think, on the show. What the hell's his last name? His last name just escaped me. Hang on here.
What, an upcoming show or?
Yeah, like next week. I don't know if you know this, but I've been doing Lego streams at the first Saturday of every month now.
Lego what?
I call it Bricks Beyond Belief. And I build stuff.
Nice.
And we just shoot the shit.
Very cool.
We actually just had our call screener. Bree was just on the show last Saturday. So if you want to check that, last Saturday? That was yesterday. So if you want to check that out, check it out. Jeff Brooks, who I met at the BajaCon. And the following Saturday, we got David Fitzgerald, who I also met at BajaCon, who will be coming on the show. And a big one, we're skipping the Lego stream for the first Saturday of October because I landed Dan Barker to come on the show.
Very nice.
So we're going to have Dan on the show.
Very cool.
Yeah, those are the next 3 guests coming up on my show. And if you would like to share your story, you can hit me up at 604atheist@gmail.com. And I will answer you. And we can set some up. Woo! Woo! Yeah, so that's about it. Anyways, guys, that's all our amazing patrons. And like I said before, there are ways you could become. And don't forget about our shows on Mondays, which is Black Free Thinkers, Thursday night, Sunny Spot, Saturdays, Global Atheists and Women's Atheists Unload, and Sundays, of course, Let's Talk, with usually going to be me and somebody or somebody else and somebody else. So there you go, guys. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye, folks.
This is Skeptic Haven. Let's talk.